today on Divorce Court?
I am here today to finally put an end to my boyfriend's non-manly behavior.
She says I'm too sensitive.
I do feel like when the situation gets tough, I'm not sure if he would be able to take control.
All I want is her heart. I want her emotions. I don't want just to have, intercourse.
He can be sweet and loving, but then if something doesn't go his way, he could just be rude and disrespectful.
Divorce Court is now in session.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here today with Ebony Hicks and Jonathan Famum. The two of you have been together for 5 years, and they have no children.
Wow. Man.
You are, however, having some troubles.
Yes.
So you are here today. You're trying to stay together. You're 23 and 24, and you got a whole lot going on. So I'm going to start with you, Ms. Hicks. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your relationship and why you're here in divorce court today?
Hello, Judge. I'm here today because I've been with Jonathan for 5 years, and we just seem to continue to have problems down the line. We had a good, solid 1 year. But ever since I cheated on him, we just really haven't been the same.
Now, what did you cheat on him for?
At the time, we were having a long-distance relationship, and when we spoke over the phone, I realized that he was smoking. And we basically talked about me not wanting him to smoke.
Uh-huh.
And, how if he were to get high, I just wouldn't want to.
Your response to him getting high was to sleep with somebody else. How did you make that leap?
Well, at the time, it really wasn't like that. I mean, we discussed it, and then he smoked, and then, I guess we broke up after that, and then we got back together. And then, when we got back together,
That's just weird. Mr. Famum, is that an accurate recitation of what occurred?
Yeah, we were together, and she cheated on me, and I was smoking, and she was like, "Oh, I don't like you smoking weed," so she was just like, "Oh, I cheated on you," and I was like, "Oh wow, like why and who and blah blah blah," and it was over weed. I was smoking.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha. Doesn't make any sense to me either.
Yeah, I don't
Ms.
get
Hicks,
it.
I'm gonna go back to you. You said in your papers that the overarching concern that you had in this relationship is that you want a man who you feel protects you and backs you up, and you don't believe Mr. Famum does so appropriately. Why don't you explain what you mean by that?
I feel like genuinely he's not man enough. I don't feel like.
Now, what generally he is not man enough? Can you give me any examples that would clarify that for me?
Just that recently we broke up because he had a roommate who was staying with him.
Uh-huh.
And it was just an awkward situation for me because I knew that him and his roommate were not really friendly. They weren't really getting along. So
Right.
There came a point in time when he moved out, and me and him was hanging out one day, and his roommate came to his house while I was there, drunk. And, Jonathan just came off very, very scared. He didn't answer the door. I urged Jonathan. I said, "Listen, Jonathan, this used to be a friend. This used to be a roommate. Just talk to him. He might need some help." But Jonathan, he came to the door with nunchucks and a knife, and he just.
Mr. Famum, do you care to discuss? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, my ex-roommate came to my door drunk, and I just left it alone. I told him to leave. I was gonna call the cops. I threatened to call the cops like 5, 8 times. I was giving him chances. He still didn't leave. So I was about to go out there, and just handle it like, I was going to, but, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just call the cops. And then she's like, "Oh, you act like..."
Ms. Hicks, that's ridiculous. You can't. You can't reason with drunk people. Drunk people are unreasonable. They do not think. It's a fight waiting to happen. Why would you put your man in a position to get hurt, to do something that he won't be able to successfully do, and not just call the police? Well, I don't understand that.
Judge, it's complicated because at the time, Jonathan, he would talk to me about his roommate, how, you know, if the situation got tough, he'll beat him up, you know. It seemed like Jonathan had things under control.
Beat whom up?
Jonathan would beat him up. That's what Jonathan would say to me. Like, he had things
So you wanted Jonathan to beat him up again? You thought that was an appropriate response?
Fight. That's the last thing I wanted, was a fight. And it ended up happening like that. I just really wanted to...
What did you want? I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want. You didn't want him to just leave him out there and call the cops, which is the rational thing to do. You wanted him to go out and handle the business, which is not a rational thing to do. And then when I asked you about that, you said you didn't want him to have a fight. I'm not quite sure what you want. Do you?
I thought I did.
Now, I want to move on to the next complaint that you have, which is you basically think Mr. Farnham's a crybaby. So we're going to talk about that now.
I came back, and this guy is in his boxers, sitting at the edge of the bed, smoking a cigarette. And she's in, like, this little cloak thing that you know, cover up like a one piece.
Ms. Hicks, you say he's really emotional and cries a lot. Give me some examples of when you think he was overly emotional and was a crybaby about stuff.
There was a time when he called me a B, and I had to call the cops because at that time I asked him to leave, and he wouldn't leave. And I've called the cops on Jonathan about 3 times total, just from him being very emotional and just, you know.
Did you feel threatened by him?
Yes, I did. And, you know, there's been time, well, there was a situation when my birthday was here, and I had a male friend, and me and Jonathan wasn't together. But he had confessed to me prior to my birthday that he messed around with another girl. But we were supposed to have been working
on the relationship.
Yes. So it really broke my heart. But I still had my party anyway, and I invited a male friend. He ended up leaving. He ended up coming back and just pretty much stirring trouble. Like, you know, he was just very upset for whatever reason. I'm not sure what he was on that night. But, you know, I kindly asked him to go home. He would not go home. He insisted on breaking into my bedroom door, and he saw my friend, and he just kind of like threatened him with the knife.
You were in bed with the friend?
I was just hanging out.
Now, Ms. Hicks, you and I both know that's not true. Yeah. You know, you don't break into a bedroom door hanging out in the bedroom. Mr. Farnham, do you remember that?
I remember that night.
Tell me what you think happened.
You know what happened that night? Her and her friend was talking on the balcony, talking sexual things, and I got upset, and it was her birthday, and I left. And I came back, and this guy is in his boxers, sitting at the edge of the bed, smoking a cigarette. And she's in, like, this little cloak thing that you know, cover up like a one piece. And I just busted it open because I thought I left something.
And you saw what you saw.
And I saw what I saw. I got mad. I got angry. I tore down curtains, broke PS2s, threatened, you know, broke the screen, everything, the whole 9 yards. She called the cops. I left before they came. I was at my friend's house, calming down.
What they do?
You know?
Mr. Farnham, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
It seems to me, from what I see here, that whenever you two break up, she's with another guy immediately. Is that how it... Explain to me how that happens and how that occurs.
It occurs by, like, it'll be a 3-week process. We won't talk, we won't hang out for a while. She'll get drunk, and she'll hang out with a friend or somebody, or she'll talk to somebody on social media or something, and then she'll do whatever she does and come back to me, and then she'll tell me like, oh, you know, I respect her loyalty, but she'll come back to me and tell me what she did, and then she'll boo-hoo, and you know, we'll get over it a little bit.
And then
the cycle back to single. Yeah, it repeats itself over.
Because you guys have broken up like 15 times.
Yeah, more than 15.
Back and forth, back and forth. Ms. Hicks, let me ask you a question. Why do you, because to me, that signals a person who can't be alone and needs to have male validation at all times. Do you disagree with that?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what's happening. When you break up with him, why do you immediately have sex with somebody else?
I don't immediately have sex with someone else. When me and Jonathan break up, I always assume that's the end of it. And I try and move on emotionally. And
so you do that by engaging with another dude?
I mean, not necessarily. I don't really look at it like that. I mean...
Hey.
Okay, all right. Well, I got some things I want to say about that. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about money, because you say, Ms. Hicks, Mr. Farnum is so irresponsible, he gets evicted all the time because he simply doesn't pay his rent for months.
I don't feel like he's ready. I don't feel like he's mature enough.
Do you feel mature enough to be married?
With him, yeah.
Should Ebony and Jonathan remain committed to their 5-year relationship? Tell us what you think at facebook.com/Divorce Court. Divorce Court will be right back. If you would like your case to be heard on Divorce Court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or log on to our website at divorcecourt.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Divorce Court. So tell me about his financial irresponsibility.
Jonathan, there's a time when he went almost 5 months without paying his rent. And he even started selling drugs in the area that we moved into.
I disagree.
Well, let's not talk about that. Do you not pay your rent for long stretches?
Yes, it was a time while I was unemployed, I couldn't pay it, and there was time while I was employed, and I had a fine to pay from the day that the whole incident happened with her friend. I was paying the fine, I was paying my rent, I was paying light, I was paying electricity. I was just paying for everything, and I had no money in my pockets, and I couldn't even pay
Couldn't pay the rent.
Yeah.
I would have paid the rent first, but okay.
Yeah.
You know, when working my way backward. Ms. Hicks, let me ask you this. You talk about his financial irresponsibility, which really doesn't affect you, except for the fact that you want ultimately to marry this guy, right? My question to you is this. You've broken up 15 times. You go with other guys as soon as you break up to emotionally move on, but it never happens. You say he's weak and crybaby. You want him to fight for you. You want him to... There's something in there that's hollow, I think. Do you feel afraid? Are you insecure? You're fighting to keep a relationship that doesn't seem to satisfy you at all. And what I want to know is, and you seem very upset when I raise the conflicting, you know, you say one thing and it doesn't make sense, and you seem very upset about it. What's going on with you?
I just want him to show me that we can live a happy life together, that we can be adults and take care of our responsibilities. I don't feel like he's ready. I don't feel like he's mature enough.
Do you feel mature enough to be married?
With him, yeah.
Mr. Farnum, what are your thoughts on what I just said? Do you see a weakness and a sadness in her?
Yes.
Do you think she's insecure? Talk to me about what you think.
I don't think that she's insecure. I just think that she just is she nitpicks a lot about little things. She'll be picky about it. She has to get to the bottom of it. You know, she just has to get to the bottom of things. There's like emotional problem because she's not emotionally there for me. She says it, and
she's not emotionally there for me. What do you mean by that?
There'll be she's not emotionally there as far as like I'll cry or something that happened, and she'll say like one time I can't sympathize for why you're crying, or I don't know why you're crying, and I told her like why am I crying, and she was like I don't know why you're crying, it's not that serious, but to me it's serious, and you know I just want to handle it, but I don't know, Judge.
Okay. Yeah, I read your compatibility test, and I think I might have found a little bit of what the problem is. And I hope you can hear me, Ms. Hicks, because I'm looking at the problem. What is keeping Ebony and Jonathan from progressing in their relationship? Share your opinion on Twitter and Instagram at Divorce Court. Divorce Court will be right back. I did a compatibility test on you because I always do that when I have young people in here who are saying, you know, we're struggling in our relationship. Personally, I believe 23 and 24 is for getting to know people. He's not what I want, and then you go somewhere else. Don't have sex with him, but you watch him. And to maintain a relationship with someone you find so deeply and meaningfully inadequate, you know, he's not inadequate. I think he's a good dude. He's, you know, I like it. I'm not dating him, but he hasn't shown up the weak individual I thought I would meet based upon your assessment. But in your compatibility test, I always ask you to list 5 things you don't like about yourself and 5 things you don't like about your partner. You listed 8 for both. You listed for him lying, substance abuse, selfish, controlling, no self-control, people pleaser, workaholic, no work ethic, very emotional, not goal-oriented, not driven, crumbles under pressure. And for you, you said judgmental, critical, not emotionally understanding, antisocial, too nice. My past influences my decisions. I flirt a lot sometimes. I might expect too much. I procrastinate. I think you are just dissatisfied. You know what I mean? And you don't know what it is you're dissatisfied about, so you pick the nearest person and say, I'm dissatisfied with you. I think that you don't have enough, whatever it is that makes a person personally at peace. Because you're trying to fill a need, you don't know what it is. You think it's him, but you're not satisfied with what he brings to the table. But you can't get up from the table because you don't know where to go. You wanted me to tell you how to keep you two together, and I don't know how to do that because I need to tell you that you need to have yourself together on your own as a person. Without a man, you have to have economic, educational, and spiritual goals that you achieve in order to be a whole-centered person. That way, everybody you meet is going to have some inadequacies in some department. And if you are not fully centered and whole, you're going to fall into whatever inadequacies they have and pick it apart and blow it apart because you're not fully centered and whole. So he'll never satisfy you. Nobody will ever satisfy you until you learn to satisfy yourself. I'm going to have you see someone to get you started on that journey, but that's a road you really do need to travel. Mr. Farnham, I wish you the best. You're a good dude.
Thank you.
You know, but don't go you know, in a hamster wheel if it's not going to get you anywhere. You have the right to make a decision to step off of it and go do what you need to do. Okay. That being said, this matter is adjourned.
Thank you.
After being here in court today, I realized that my future with Jonathan Farnham is not going to continue because I still have a lot of work to do on myself.
The judge says that she has a lot of work to do on herself. I would love to be there for her while she's going through it and just be able to help her, you know, with whatever problem she has.